Sun is shining outside as we gear up a main track heavy card this afternoon. Ron Nicoletti, Jason Blewett alongside. A new look to the Gulfstream Park live simulcast feed. A lot of blue on there for sure. And the boys in blue, actually,
Oh, yeah.
as we gear up, Ronnie, a 10-race Wednesday card just 10 days out from the Pegasus.
Yeah, the Pegasus. Boy, it's getting exciting around here. You can see it, just things going out. But we got a whole great week of racing before the fantastic Pegasus weekend next week.
Definitely. Saturday, a big one. Not only, by the way, do we start a new week, it's a 6-day week with Monday being Martin Luther King Jr. Day. That will be a live racing car, but it kind of it just culminates with a perfect kind of crescendo here Saturday afternoon as we see some of the best Florida breds in training in the inaugural Sunshine Millions. That'll be this Saturday, January 18th. 4 key stakes worth 6 figures, 200,000 down to 100,000. That race and that card, my friend, will be drawn a bit later this afternoon.
Yeah, a little later on, and certainly expecting that to be really a good day for the Sunshine Millions. Every year, it's a lot of fun. So Sunshine Millions Saturday, that's this week, January 18th.
And a big-time winter-themed Jackpot Rainbow Six here. That has been the ongoing mystery, if you will, unhittable in terms of a single-ticket jackpot payout, and as a result, we've got well over $2 million in the guarantee, my friend.
Yeah, $2.5 million in the guarantee. Starts in race number 5 today, so good luck with your tickets. A little later on, I'll be showing you one as we come back from our break in just a bit.
All right, we are fast and firm, again, kicking off a new 6-day racing week, and it gets underway in about 60 minutes time, give or take. I know post time 12:35, 12:40 Eastern, and first 3 races today, very main track-centric early pick 5 ticket, as the first 3 are on the dirt, and I've got coverage in all 3 main track races. Our opening turf race, however, race number 4, features what figures to be an overwhelming, probably odds-on favorite in Menelik, who is going out for Jonathan Thomas on a big drop. She is a 6-5 on the morning line, or he's 6-5 on the morning line, and he's going to anchor a $30 ticket for me, Ronnie, that I didn't have all that much difficulty, whether I'm right or wrong. I didn't struggle as much with the first 3 races than I did with race number 5, which for me, I mean, you're going 5 deep. I've got the 2 Pletcher firsters. There's some horses in there that have run okay, that are still maidens. And I see a Rod Ortiz Jr. riding a horse in that spot in the 5th race today, the number 7, Dream Will Come, for Marcio Navarro. That horse looks a little sneaky to me with a rod in the irons.
Yeah, that's a tough race to handle. That's a good way to put the ticket together, going 5 deep in there. And I had a tough time with that race. I did add both Pletcher first-time starters that cost $200,000 or thereabouts a plus, and they're running for that 32 tag. So should be a good way, and that starts the Rainbow Six.
It does absolutely start the Rainbow Six. Now, a bit further down the line, did you single Premier Star for Jorge Navarro off that good debut? He's that temperature cold to beat Caro first out.
I didn't single him.
Oh,
no.
okay, because he'll be a big favorite, and this is a busy day not only for trainer Safi Joseph Jr., who sends out a 1-2 punch in the first race, but you've got a pretty busy day and then some for trainer Jorge Navarro, who, much like Safi, sees multiple horses running in both legs of the early double. Now, you and I are both taking Safi here, and I'd say, Ronnie, due to that effort 2 back with the 50 fig, the 10 fast dude, probably, I think, are the ones that have raced the horse to beat.
Yeah, solid second against this level of competition, going a mile, as you mentioned, a couple of starts back, drops, turns back to 3/4 of a mile, removes the blinkers today, duel for the lead, called it a day against those 25 maidens, going 8 furlongs last time out, turned back off that performance. I used a horse that's currently 5-2 right now, Mountain Tree, who shortened it up to 3/4 of a mile. If they made a big move last time out, Louis Sire is going to ride today as Irad sticks with the top choice.
And Jorge Navarro's got my 8 horse in second anyway, 10-8 exacted for me, and Animador, who got bet, didn't lift a hoof first out, but is back just a week and a half later in for the 12-5. We'll see if that horse can wake up and maybe show a little more. I hope that's the case. We move on to the second, and again, you've got Safi and Jorge Navarro sending out a combined 3 horses in this upcoming 7-horse cast, and this is really a multi-layered type second race where I think off the bat you're really faced with the horse in the number 6, Annualized, who's going to be favored here off a very fast debut race, but that was back right around Kentucky Derby time in Arkansas.
And change your barns today, going to the Rodolphe Brousset barn. This son of Union Mags, his first start, as you mentioned. He was third in that 6 furlong career debut at Oaklawn Park last May. Jose Ortiz will be in the saddle today. And I thought of the horses, he's coming off the layup, so I'm sort of looking at him maybe as a first-time starter again.
Fair enough, but he does, and he's going to get bet off that fast race. I mean, I would imagine he'll go favorite in this spot, and maybe it won't even be close. In good hands. And not the only layoff horse, as we've been saying, is the 4 Zoe's Delight. In fact, ran a day after Annualized did, only he started last out at Churchill Downs for trainer Ian Wilkes, and he's back in the mix this afternoon. We've also got, in fact, for Ronnie and I, it's a cold 6-3 exacta. The Saffy firster in this race, the number 3 Magical Mike, lures a Rod Ortiz Jr., and I look at this last breeze here, and this is a horse based at Gulfstream Park, and why don't we backtrack to 10 days ago on the morning of January 5th. In the days following, Ronnie, with Magical Mike inside and this jockey outside, who probably, when it comes down to a horse-for-horse sort of comparison, was the better worker in this breeze. But to me, it's like the stock of this work went up exponentially with this jockey coming back out an 85 buyer here in his win on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, you make a great point there, and I like the fact that Ired's going to drive him, and I actually ride him, and I actually read my analysis. The way Saffy's going with Ired Ortiz, the leading rider, you have to use this horse on your ticket somewhere. Saffy's just been on fire.
I mean, dirt pedigree's not really there, at least superficially, being by Magician out of an Anabod down, but you've got a Rod riding, and a Saffy, by the way, it's narrow, but he leads all trainers here with a lot of racing to go. 16 wins in the trainer standings starting the new week. Let's move on to the third. Again, 3 consecutive races over the main track, fast main track to start the new week. Got some older fillies and mares in this $8,000 to $7,000 claimer, where the horse to beat is probably the 3 Painter Fest. I get the big drop with her, and it's probably a realistic move down in class. Her recent races didn't blow me away, and I see you had a similar type opinion. We both put her second.
Yeah, I put her second. I did go with the 6 Kalani, who's making her local return after a couple of solid efforts across town at Gulfstream Park West, in which she broke her maiden on the grass. Followed that, comes back, runs second against those 10-2 lifetime claimers, going 7 on the main track. It's Luis Saez handles the stretch out today to a mile. Current form, even though it was across town, I couldn't trust Painter Fest, so I put this one on top.
I took the Woodbine horse. I normally don't go for these Woodbine horses. I'm kind of like a wait-and-see guy when it comes to the many Canadians that are wintering here over the next few months at Gulfstream Park. But, again, just not loving the recent form with the 3 Painter Fest. I opted to take a horse who's only got the 1 dirt race. A little tough to gauge off a dirt sprint in early April, a long time ago here at Gulfstream Park, coincidentally. But in reality, I don't think it was that bad of an effort. It gives me some hope. Running for 8,000, this horse will be a player. The other sort of, I'd say, major layer, maybe not with the 4-footed athletes, more or less the jockeys in this race, because you've got Paco, who's off his mounts today and is starting a 3-day suspension. So you've got Tyler on the 5 odd gal, and then we welcome back Miguel Vasquez, who has not ridden since the middle of October. He gets the rider change on Coffee Futures.
Yeah, he's got a couple of mounts today and Friday, so he's getting back from, he had an accident, I think his back or something like that, and he's back now, and he's, Miguel, a good rider. I've looked at his record from last year. Yeah, he was, this year, I should say, or no, last year.
Yeah, 2019, yeah.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
He was winning races in bunches during the spring and summer. He's a good rider.
Yeah, he's one of the elite here. I mean, spring, summer, into the fall. Absolutely a top 3 or 4 guy in the hierarchy of the local colony. Again, he has not started since the middle of October over at Gulfstream Park West, and we welcome back Miguel, classy native of Panama. Let's move on to the 4th, and as far as prohibitive short prices go and turf racing goes, I think we've got both of those traits housed within this 3-year-old $25,000 to $20,000 claiming race, where the number 8 Menelik in the day's grass opener, Ronnie, at 5 furlongs, just going to be a monster favorite in this one.
Yeah, now listed as a gelding, drops to the 25 level today after returning to the turf. Going to wear blinkers this afternoon after following his 4th place finish. That was sprinting up at Belmont with a chase and fade outing. That was against special weight competition, and that was going 6.5 furlongs on the Aqueduct main track. Just a stat on Jonathan Thomas going from dirt to turf, 4 for 14, 29%, 71% in the money, $1.60 is the return of investment. But this is a horse to beat, just the connections, and you got Javier Castellano to add to the appeal. I thought this was the logical one.
There he is, the man, born in Virginia, former assistant to Todd Pletcher, real classy guy, Jonathan Thomas, and that must have been Florida Derby Day a couple of years ago when Catholic Boy, if memory is serving me correct, was heading into our biggest race for the Triple Crown here, the Florida Derby, a couple of years back with the future Travers winner. Speaking of the future, Ronnie, we'll take a little break. We've got some Stronach 5, we've got a Rainbow 6, and a whole lot more.
Racing history.
Well, the sun is shining on this Wednesday, soon to be Wednesday afternoon on this January 15th here at Gulfstream Park. Obviously, the morning trading here, and it was a busy morning over the main track. Things have quieted down outside. Quite the serene picture as we gear up for an opening Pick 3 comprised of solely main track races, and that is the starting point, Ronnie, meanwhile, in the guaranteed Rainbow 6, which might be the biggest multi-race wager on the card, but come Friday afternoon won't be the only one with a gigantic pool. We welcome in the latest round of the Stronach 5 on the eve of the Sunshine Millions. We've got a couple of races in the mix, my friend, from Gulfstream Park.
Yeah, well, Leg B and Leg E, that's the 8th and 10th races at Gulfstream Park, both of those on the turf. So adds to the appeal. We got Laura, we got Golden Gate, we got Santa Anita, and, of course, a couple from right here at Gulfstream Park. $100,000 jackpot guarantee and 12% takeout.
About 3:50 Eastern will be the starting point there, and that coincides, of course, with Friday Stronach 5 on that January 17th program with the Beat the Expert contest. Free to play. We say contest, but it's free. Always a good time, and I am up. 10-race card. Oh, by the way, speaking of Friday, Ronnie, he'll be favored for sure. Nice seeing Hidden Scroll back in the entries for Bill Mott.
Yeah, boy, he's burning up the track up there at Payson Park, so can't wait for him to come back. Of course, he was 4th in the Grade 2 Fountain of Youth last time out. He's lightly raced. We'll see how he runs. Got a couple of nice horses in that race, one from Safi and one from Todd Pletcher, so a small field.
That
but
sniper shot, yeah.
Yeah, very interesting field.
Definitely, and Hidden Scroll unraced since an allowance try. I think that was either Oaks or Kentucky Derby Day, lost that race. Very enigmatic. I think that's probably the right buzzword with Hidden Scroll, who makes his 4-year-old debut and a highly anticipated one here in a little more than 48 hours. Meanwhile, we've got that $2.5 million guarantee in the Jackpot Rainbow 6. That remains, again, the great mystery of this 2019-2020 winter season at Gulfstream Park. 43.20 for you this afternoon?
48.60 for me, and I did go 3 deep, and I used both of those Todd Pletcher horses. I wanted to go deep like you did. I really like number 4 all around in race number 6. Changing barns going to the Eddie Keneally barn, so I singled there. So I had a lot of other coverage in there. Premier Star in race number 7. Oaks Bluck, the Critical Way. I think those are logical contenders. Then go all the way down to race number 10. My long shot is in there, 20-1 on the morning line. It's the 5 Hottie Toddy. She's turning back to her best distance today. She's had 17 races, 3 wins. I just think for Carlos David, Edgar Zayas, why not take a shot? Maybe I can knock a couple of people out in the Rainbow Six.
You're 4-9-10 to start. You've got both Pletcher trained firsters. You've got two to choose from, one with Louie, the other with Tyler. And then you've got horses like the 9 Flaming Hot and even to an extent the 8 Skybridge who have run okay. And like I said, with my early pick 5, this race really confused me, almost like a 1,000 jigsaw puzzle type race. I'm going to take a price and just take a stab, hoping that Marcial Navarro, who's got a second-time starter in the 7 Dream will come. Maybe, and it's not, if it's the case, it's not subtle, but maybe he's saying, you know what, this horse is going to run a lot better than his debut back in early November with the addition of Rod Ortiz Jr.
Yeah, I did go with the 9 Flaming Hot, who ran second here against $50,000 maidens a couple of starts back. Returns, went up to Tampa and finished second against those 40 maidens going 3/4. Kathleen O'Connell's got a go-to jock, Hyra Rendon. Talking about those 2 first-time starters from Todd Pletcher, Clatter and Healy's Hope. Want to show you a stat with Todd. With both these horses, 3-year-old first-time starters, maiden claimers, right here at Gulfstream Park. He's 6 for 16, 38%, 56% in the money, and still that positive return of investment of $2.60. And both of these cost $200,000 or more.
Yeah. Well, kind of irrelevant what they paid for them in regards to here and now. You know, I always say, when you're buying a horse, you're obviously buying a racehorse or a potential racehorse. You're also buying into the hype and the dream and all that stuff. So almost immaterial, I think, at this stage of the game. And Todd is clearly somebody who places his horses where they belong. So you'd imagine up to this point, they probably have shown the ability of a 30K maiden claimer, and that's the case this afternoon when they both debut. Halfway home with 5 down and 5 to go. Late pick 5 in the half-mile portion of the program begins now with a $24 ticket for me. I am 4 and 7 using all around for Eddie Keneally. And I'd say the horse to beat off a strong last out, narrowly beaten effort on the turf is the 7 What's Inside. To me, the star of the program potentially is, at least going in, the number 4 Premier Star in the 7th race, who got bet like a good horse and ran like a good horse first out, defeating a horse in Caro and Uncle Mo Colt, who came back here and aired on Saturday with a 92 buyer. He looks like he's very good and very talented for Jorge Navarro. I've got 4 in the nightcap, and I'll tell you, Ronnie, we're in the same camp. I didn't pick your long shot, at least as far as the win goes, with the 5 Hottie Toddy. I think, assuming she shows up with what she's been capable of for Carlos David, one of her better efforts, I think she's every bit in the conversation there in a real scramble.
Yeah, that's what I mean. She figures that such a wide open affair. That's when you try and maybe find the horse that you can get a little bit of a price with.
Now, there won't be a price with either the 4 and or 7 in this upcoming 3 lifetime $16,000 to $14,000 claimer. But like I was saying, the 7 What's Inside likes 5 on the turf, is coming in out of a good race for a trainer who's had a good run of things. And I'm curious, maybe you have the wild card in here, who's a complete unknown, which I don't like, going this very niche-like, specialized 5 furlong distance on the turf. But in terms of talent, I mean, the 4 all-around's a very good fit here.
Yeah, he moved to the Eddie Keneally barn, as I mentioned a little earlier. After that claim, debuts on the turf came within the head of notching this non-winners of 3 lifetime condition. That was on the Churchill Main track, being a gelded son of Caleb's posse. I think bred on both sides to run well on the turf, so I took a shot there with the single. You're right about What's Inside. And just a note, when you handicap in this 6th race, the rail setting will be 0 feet, so make sure you mark that down in your handicapping. So I had to get a single somewhere. I like that. I'm guessing sort of, but I think it's the one. Of course, the 7's the one to beat, but that's how you knock some people out.
A Premier Star, the horse to beat, probably by a good ways, and I don't think you probably see even money on this horse this afternoon as we backtrack. We'll get into this 7th race field. Oh, no, you did pick this horse. Yeah. All right, so we both have Premier Star on top. We went slightly different directions in a 6-horse cast for second, but backtracking some 38 days ago, let's get down to it with this horse who was carried out, I mean, relatively wide off the far turn against a well-bet Caro. Now, he's not coming back, the horse in the red cap, in this field today, but I thought we'd highlight him considering the buzz that he just happened to earn himself here Saturday with a 92 buyer performance. You got a horse in the number 4 Premier Star in that green cap and the red blinkers, carried out widest, but that's not really the issue to me anyway. It's the fact that he ran fast in this race from a figure standpoint And look what he and the runner-up did to this field going 7 furlongs. This horse looks very talented to me.
Yeah, it looks talented, and he was carried a little bit wide over there. Show you stat on Jorge Navarro with a winner last out, sprints in the dirt at Gulfstream. He's 27%, 60% the money, 190 is the return of investment. I was almost going to single this horse. I singled in this because I sort of like Peruvian Boy in here. This is where we differ a little bit in second. He's stretching out the additional furlong today. He rallied to finish third. That was in the 6th furlong, $75,000 Limehouse. You get Antonio Sano. You get John Velasquez handling the added distance today. I think this one's going to sit a really nice trip in this race.
He could. He's coming out of the Limehouse. I don't know if Shivery ran his best race that day from off the pace. And I thought Peruvian Boy, I mean, he got a fast pace to close into.
Yeah, and I'm thinking maybe if something like that happens today, I mean, not for the win. It looks like Premier Star is definitely the one to beat. But I thought with Johnny V on there, if there's anybody that's going to judge the pace race and maybe spring a mini upset, it would be the number 6.
All right, I went to Mark Hennig's horse, obviously, for second. Again, options might be if Premier Star runs to how we think he's advertised going in. I mean, the race legitimately for seconds probably between Mark Hennig's Americanus and Peruvian Boy for Antonio on the outside. We turn the page. We move on to race number 8. We are back on the turf for this upcoming older $30,000 to $25,000 claimer and a real sort of fountain of youth horse in the number 4 Oak Bluffs, who just a couple of weeks ago celebrated his 10-year-old birthday. And man, it just strikes me as Mary Epler, who first and foremost has done excellent work not only with him but some older, sort of hard-nosed older geldings in her barn. Even a horse like Ice-T comes to mind. I'm thinking this was probably a case where this race might have been the end game. Brought him back here off a little bit of a layoff in early December at just a much higher level.
Yeah, drop it to the 30 level after rallying to finish 4th. The race you were talking against those $62,500 claimers. Newly turned 10-year-old. 13-time winner at the distance, so he knows how to run at this 5 furlong distance. I used the critical way in second. It was debuting locally for Kelly Rubley and dropping to this level. Followed a second place finish against those 35 optional claimers. That's sprinting on the Laurel turf with a clunker, but it was, again, stepped up. It was against those optional claimers, 62,000 type, going 6 furlongs at Aqueduct. Nick Juarez rides. I think it's a good spot for the critical way.
All right, fully loaded for Ralph Nix, I thought might be the main danger personally to the number 4 Oak Bluffs. It does feel and look like he's enjoyed quite a little bit of a resurgence and maybe even a renaissance to an extent. Much improved since getting back on the turf with not 1 but 2 solid back-to-back efforts. Anyway, the 9th race is our last spin and cruise today over the main track as we go that 1-turn mile, bringing on a field of 9 in the Wednesday feature on this fast and firm January 15th. Some older fillies and mares in this allowance optional claimer, led perhaps by trainer Chad Brown, who brings back the number 3 Canteen. Now, I had pulled this workout that we're about to show you prior to Sunday's 10th race. Yeah, it was the 10th race, I think, or 9th race with Feedback, who had won the Forward Gal here last winter and hadn't raced since the Beaumont. Stumbled badly and lost as the favorite. Didn't really run all that well late in the card here Sunday. I still, in regards to Canteen, who's eligible for this other than condition, this is a fine workout for a horse who's just been, I think, Ronnie, in her 4 races to date, she's just been okay. This is not some Peter Brandt Chad monster, but she's still arguably the horse to beat.
Yeah, $500,000 daughter of Candy Ride making her sophomore debut for Chad after following her. I thought it was a pretty good maiden victory in the mud with a 3rd place finish against those entry-level allowance runners going a mile. It was up at Aqueduct. Javier Castellano. All Chad's horses have been running exceptionally well. I thought this was the one to beat in the Nightcap, but I did go a little deeper. I mean, the Nightcap in the 9th. I did go a little deeper, too, when I put my ticket together.
Now, Violent Trick is perhaps the now horse, and we'll see ultimately how good she is stepping up and trying better horses with likely a different sort of just pace matchup. There's more early speed than in this race last time out, where she was able to play sort of the point man or point gal in this race and was claimed out of a dominating effort. I remember thinking at the time, I remember feeling pretty surprised that she won this race and that it wasn't close. And the more I went back and looked, especially after seeing Jorge Navarro claimed, I said, you know, they tried her on the turf, few trainers back. Dirt, it seemed like that was a good fit for this horse, Violent Trick, over the summer. And maybe she's just not a horse that handled the fall season over at Gulfstream Park West, because this is her only race since we moved back from Miami Gardens. And I'll tell you, you look at the good claiming outfits like a Jorge Navarro, oftentimes they're ahead of the curve. And maybe Jorge just made a really nice claim here, considering that dominant performance and how fast the race came up.
Well, she certainly, as you mentioned, cemented her horse for course status when she won for the third time in 4 starts here with 25 claimers. You saw that performance. I like the number 10 in here. You got in third and second a little bit, Lady Kate. What I like, she stakes place going a mile and 40 yards as a 2-year-old. So I know she can get the distance. Stretches out. She rallied to finish second in the 6.5 allowance at Churchill. Eddie Keneally, Jose Ortiz in the saddle today. I like that when I handicap and to see a horse that's done something that can do. So it was stakes place at mile 40. I think these are the logical 3 that we just have them boxed around.
No question about it. And maybe there is some extra support down the line for the 2 Flashing Diamond, who is capable of some crushing efforts, but she's way up in class. Good little field there on the main track in race number 9. Turf, it's where it's at, however, as we wrap things up here. These are older filly mares, $16,000 to $14,000 claimers in the nightcap. And although we have Ronnie's long shadow, I've got third capping that 4-7-5 trifecta in the number 5 Hottie Toddy. I think off the bat, just in terms of the pecking order, we got to discuss, and in this case show, that 4-horse rematch from the finale here on December 6th, that it mainly concerns perhaps the best ride Jeffrey Sanchez has put up this winter here. He doesn't get a lot of sort of quote-unquote live opportunities. Thought he rode the 5 Sweet Story in that white cap and the white blinkers perfectly. Is Adorable Aida, though, this was not race-ending trouble to me, but I don't think there's really a defense to the fact that, well, she ran up on heels and clearly had nowhere to go. And it seemed to perhaps be a case where her run ultimately was just stop cold when she lost that forward momentum. She'll take another run at Sweet Story, who, again, I thought Jeffrey just rode her flawlessly.
Yeah, and Adorable Aida going into the Bobby Hess barn after the claim. Got Irad Ortiz staying aboard, so that's the one to beat. Hottie Toddy, the long shot. I mentioned turning back to her best distance. She's had 3 wins. She tracked the pace. She finished 4th. She was only beaten at length and a half. I don't think she runs bad in this spot. So Edgard's Eye is the top. You're going to get a little bit of a price. I don't know about 21 because of a scratch in that race, but I think you'll get her near that or something to it.
Well, let's hope that's the case, my friend. Near that or something to it. That'll be Hottie Toddy for this man in the nightcap this afternoon. Ronnie Boy 5, 4, and 12. And I've got the old 4, 7, 5. And we've got a lot of Pete Aiello coming up next with those scratches and changes.